run through the membership options for members, Kate?
Yeah, so we'll be going out today with communications to our members, and essentially, we're trying to keep it as simple as we possibly can. There's 3 options. People can stay with us and just maintain their memberships. There's an option for partial payment where they would pause their membership and we would retain what they've paid up until now and then pause for the rest of the season. Or there's a refund option, and our communications are going out today. They'll be clear, and hopefully what we're saying to our members is that we would love you to stay, but everyone's circumstances are different. We understand that. The season that we'll be delivering will be different, and so they need to make their own decisions around that.
So if 20,000 people came today and said, I want a full refund, what does that do to the club?
Well, it puts us under a lot of pressure. The revenue from our members is a fundamental pillar of the club, and I don't think that's going to occur. I think that the relationship that we have with our members, and more importantly, the relationship that our members have with the club itself, will mean that most people, I suspect, will find a way or look to find a way to continue to support the club. But it is their choice, and it's important that we provide that choice.
If people do ask for a refund, do they, obviously not a member this year, do they go on the back end for next year, or they still got their seat?
No. So what we've really tried to maintain is that the rights that you have as a member in 2020 transfer into 2021. Certainly those people who are paying to stay as full members or part members, that's an automatic sort of transfer of rights. For those who can't maintain their membership, then they will get first right of offer next year for those for those opportunities. So, we think that it's a situation where everyone's dealing with the challenges of COVID differently. We know a lot of people are under pressure. We want to be mindful of that. We also know that a lot of people want to maintain their support for the club, and they understand how important that is. So, and we appreciate it.
Keith, just with the second one, where they can pause their membership, does that mean they pause the payments that they've made so far, and then say it comes back to next year, and do they repay the full amount that this year? Do they go into debt to the club essentially now? No,
they don't. It's just a pause, and we would just take it as a part payment of their membership, and 2021 starts again as a fresh year with all of their rights retained.
Is there a discounted rate for next year, Kev?
We're going to hold the rate for 2021. So, we would normally look to find some sort of increase if we could, but we were just freezing prices for next year.
2021, what might that look like for you?
Well, I don't know actually. I've been pretty consistent all the way through, saying I'm really just concentrating on the now. Yesterday was a classic example where the world just changes dramatically on a 24-hour basis. So all I've really said to David was, if it's in the best interest of the club for me to stay on a little longer or through next year, whatever, I'm prepared to do it. I'm totally invested in the club and what we need to do. And we've just agreed that we'll just keep talking about it, and we'll have another look in 3 or 4 months, but there's no pressure on the club to be trying to land a new CEO into this environment, which I think would have been pretty difficult.
Was that the driving force there, given the nature of the environment and how it could have affected the club to...
Yeah, that's the only motivation really. It's just a stress on the board and on the club that we don't really need to be thinking about at the moment. So I just reassured him that the leadership was solid and focused and invested. So deal with that when we need to.
Just another financial challenge when you came. Was it quite a similar situation, and now you're negotiating another one?
Well, this is different. From a financial point of view, the difference is that we've got a well-functioning club, and we will be able to recover out of this quickly. But the impact of this crisis, you know, in the immediate short term is far more significant than we were dealing with in 2011. So, and the complexity around it, you know, is a really serious management challenge. But, you know, I'm pretty proud of the way in which we're handling it and coping. We're adjusting to the moving environment, and you know, we'll get through it.
Have many members indicated that they want a refund over the past couple of months?
Very few. You know, I think that it's you know, it's less than 3%, which you know, in one way I'm not surprised by because of the you know, the relationship that we have with our members. But you know, you know, what we've been asking for is to wait until we've got clarity on the season. You know, the reality is we still don't have clarity. You know, we know that now that we'll be starting on June 11, which is good. That's about all we know. We don't know whether there are going to be crowds, so we don't know what the member opportunity is going to be through the year. But we thought it was important to get out and provide options at this point, and you know, I think that our members will appreciate that.
Do you think that 3% is going to rise, and what do you see? How do you see it being?
Well, look, I don't know. You know, I know that the 3% is really good in industry terms. You know, and we'll wait and see. But you know, I would have thought that our members would be wanting to find a way to support the club through this.
There's some talk about tax deductibility. Sorry, just on the membership. There was some talk there was going to be tax deductible.
Yeah, so there is an option for tax deductibility in the options that we're providing, and in that situation we would simply be saying, ring the membership team. We'll walk through that with you. But you know, there are people who are saying, well, look, we don't necessarily need the membership rights, but we would like to make a donation to the club, and we've got that facility available.
Keith, it's a working class club, a lot of members are working class people. Are you surprised that the numbers have been so low, people asking for refunds?
No, I'm not surprised. You know, I feel like Port Adelaide people have a special affiliation with their club. You know, we talk about that a lot, but we believe it. And historically, when the club gets pushed up against the wall and there's a really serious challenge to it, the Port Adelaide people come forward, and they'll do that at their own expense, and you know, we very much appreciate it.
On the training exemptions, what went into the submission that I suppose you had to put forward that was finally ticked off yesterday?
It was a bit of a surprise that the exemption came. We were confident that the South Australian government understood what we were trying to achieve. They weren't in a position to fully satisfy themselves that all of the protocols were in place. So we simply went back to the transition committee and said, okay, well, let's understand that better. And I'm really pleased that they found it with their huge agenda. They found it possible to circle back around, look at our needs, and I think sort of accept that we are prepared to do whatever it is required to get this right, and made that decision. So we're really pleased. You know, the idea of 8 weeks away versus 4 weeks away is really quite significant. You know, we were prepared to do whatever it took for the season, and we still are, but a couple of extra weeks to plan for it, and the potential for a shorter stay, you know, is pretty appealing.
I imagine a few of your players in particular were quite pleased when you passed that news on.
Yeah, well, we don't have a lot of families, young families in our playing list. We've got quite a young list, but there's also coaches, and there's we've got our media team will be going up there. So there are a lot of considerations, and I know the wives and girlfriends have been pretty happy about it.
Do you think the AFL and in turn the clubs will probably be too confident last week that you would get the exemptions?
Well, I think that the indications we were getting from the South Australian government were that they understood the need and were trying to find a way. I think that I'm not sure that we were overconfident, but we certainly were in a conversation which suggested that we're all trying to achieve the same thing. Clearly, with the time constraints that we had, we weren't able to get that done. A few days later, we've been able to execute it properly. So, we're just grateful, really, for the South Australian government, as I said, with their huge agenda, to be able to come back around and tick this off for us has been really, really appreciated.
When did you submit a proposal to them, Kev?
Well, it would have been a day after we got the original news, so whenever that was. I don't know about you guys, but 24 hours feels like 5 weeks. So I don't know, but it was not long after we received the original verdict.
Was it just you and the Crows? Because I remember the Crows said they weren't going to put in any submission.
Yeah, we put a joint letter into the transition committee, and it wasn't onerous. It was simply, look, okay, we understand. Here's what we're trying to achieve. Let us understand what you need, and in regards to the protocols, and we're able to find the right balance.
So what were the sticking points? What sort of protocols were non-negotiable for them, and what have you put in place?
Well, it's a big document, and the extension into the families and the scrutiny that they will be under in regards to the protocols, the protocols around our precinct, and keeping all of our administrative staff and anyone who's not actually on an approved list, was important. The way in which we were going to deal with the hubs themselves was important. So there's a whole range of really strict protocols that need to be adhered to, and I think a lot of it was about just reassuring the government that we understood the responsibility of this, and and that we were prepared to do whatever it took to get this right. And we've appointed compliance officers and risk officers and all those sorts of things to make sure that the education process is amongst our players is absolutely spot on, and I'm sure we'll be fine now.
So why are you being held to such a standard then? I mean, if we're seeing people are allowed in restaurants and pubs now with relaxed restrictions there, why can't footy players live their lives and
Yeah, well, I think that there is an added responsibility. I think, given the high-profile nature of AFL, it is what we do is noticed. I think that's important. What I've been explaining to our players is that right at this moment, we are entering in a period of risk. We're trying to the government is easing restrictions, which is increasing the opportunity for infection and the virus to kick on again. And so you've got to be absolutely vigilant in it. And I think that if the AFL or our team can send any sort of a message to the public about how important it is to stay on this, that's important. So we're quite happy to accept that, and we understand the responsibility.
Even with zero cases.
Yeah, I think that rather than sort of be complacent about that, I think we should be very proud about that as a state, and clearly we're all trying to protect it. And clearly we've executed this really well, and we're in great shape, and so we don't want to spoil that.
Surely, where do you stand on the showdown round 2, which the Premier has put forward?
Yeah, look, instinctively, I think that round 2 makes sense for us. I know that there's a counter argument which suggests that if we wait a little longer towards the end of the year, there's a possibility that crowds will come in. I'm not thinking that far ahead. What I'm thinking about is what can we bank now, and I like the idea of getting a showdown away early in the year, so that means we can stay in Adelaide a little longer, and I think it'd be a great spectacle to kick the season back off.
Give it a bit
some clarity from the AFL about soft cap and list sizes and that. Is that urgent in your mind?
It's urgent. I know it's a work in progress. Everything's urgent at the moment. Look, we are in the mindset of knowing broadly what confronts us, and there's no doubt that our club and our industry will be smaller than it was in 2019. Exactly how much, we're not sure, and how that looks, it's still a work in progress. But you know, we've had to take very drastic action for 2020, and that will roll into 2021, no doubt about it. And so, you know, we're really optimistic and positive about the fact that we're starting footy again. But no one should forget that the economic impact on the industry has been really severe, and it will be for years to come.
Do you have any indication though of when the AFL will let you know? Or?
Look, I don't really. I think that we're just moving from one big moment to the next. But look, I would have thought that it has to be within 2 or 3 weeks. I don't think it can go much longer than that.
Ask about Robbie.
Yeah, just ask about Robbie's toe.
Yes. Yeah. So Robbie Gray, who's not a great guy in the gym, he's apparently dropped a weight on his foot. We're not sure how bad it is. We know how it's not that bad. It's sore, but he'll be right for round 1. But how do you drop a weight on your toe? You know, like, to be honest. Anyway, he's a professional, but he'll be fine for round 1.
Was it Monday or Tuesday that it happened?
I think it was yesterday. I certainly found out about it yesterday. I'm not exactly sure.
Just with the round 2 showdown, given the potentially big TV audience, would you be still wanting to wear the prison bar Guernsey?
It's a really good question. We've been thinking about that. I personally, and this is just a personal view, is that I see it as a celebration of our heritage that needs to be shared with our fans. That would be my preference, in which case we would seek to do it when our fans are back. But I reckon we'll go out to our members and find out what they would prefer. You know, it's a really good question, and I don't know the right answer, but instinctively I'm feeling like this is something that we want to celebrate together.